بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد الله العلي الكريم ونصلي ونسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وشفيعنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, in our series of the parables, the examples of the Quran, we will take a look at a story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives as an example in a surah that we are all very much familiar with, in Surah Yasin. Now, Surah Yasin, it starts with an assertion where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins by saying, Yasin wal Quran al Hakim, innaka laminal mursaleen, testifying to the prophethood of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And this story, this example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving, is in line with this fact. And it is to show to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam what some other messengers in the past have gone through. So, from verse 13 of Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابَ الْقَرْيَةِ. Give them the example of Ashab al-Qarya, the people of the village. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ, when the messengers came to them. Now, the village and the messengers has been left obscure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not mentioned which village this was, where it was, nor whom the messengers were. Okay, keep that point in mind. We'll get back to that at the end, inshallah ta'ala. Some Mufassirin have given some possible locations where this happened and who they were, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not mentioned it in the Quran. That much we know for sure. إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent two messengers to these people of this village. فكذبوهما, and they rejected them. The people of the village rejected both the messengers. فعززنا بثالث. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we strengthened with a third. So three messengers were sent here. Now, about the messengers here, Mufassirin mentioned two possibilities, two opinions. One is that these were not actually prophets, but they were some of the followers of Isa alayhi salam, and they're the ones who came on his behalf. But others like Imam Qurtubi and others have said that no, these were in fact prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling them Mursalun, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has referred to other prophets in the Quran with this term. In any case, they came and the people rejected, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a third prophet, and they all came and made the statement, Inna ilaykum mursalun, we have been sent to you. They replied, قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وَمَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا تَكْذِبُونَ. They made three statements. First, in مَا أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا, you are just humans like us. You are just mortals like us. Second, مَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. Ar-Rahman has not sent anything with you as a proof. In antum illa takdhibun, you are just blatant liars. Three claims that these people made against the messengers. And when we look at the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that these same objections were made against him. That why didn't Allah send an angel instead? That give us some other sign, some more clear, open sign. And that he is a liar. So as I mentioned, Allah started the surah saying, "Innaka laminal mursaleen." You are amongst the messengers, but know that there were others before you as well who went through what you went through as well. It goes on. They said, "قَالُوا رَبُّنَا يَعْلَمُ إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ لَمُرْسَلُونَ." Allah knows that we have been sent to you. It's like when someone says to you that I don't believe you. When you know you're speaking the truth, they say, "Okay, fine. You don't believe me. Doesn't make a difference to me. I know that I'm speaking the truth." They say that we don't think you're messengers. They say, "Fine. We know that Allah has sent us. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ." And all that we are liable for is conveying a clear message to you, which we have done. And if you want to reject us at this point, that is up to you. They replied, قَالُوا إِنَّا تَطَيَّرْنَا بِكُمْ. We think تَطَيَّرْنَا means to consider something in a bad omen, a bad sign. We think you guys are a bad sign. We think you came with some negative energy, some toxic energy. We don't want to accept what you're saying. لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهُ. If you don't stop, لَنَرْجُمَنَّكُمْ وَلَيَمَسَّنَّكُمْ مِنَّا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. If you don't stop, we're going to stone you, we're going to kill you, and you're going to suffer a severe punishment at our hands. They replied, قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ. If there's any negative energy, it's from you guys. You guys are the ones who are in a bad position, who have the evil omens, who are a bad sign. أَإِذْ ذُكِّرْتُمْ. Are you going to make such claims just because someone was reminding you of something? Something as simple as that, you're going to start making these accusations against us? بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. You are very extravagant people. You guys go too far. وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى. This is where it gets interesting. A person comes running from across the city, from the furthest point of the city, min aqsa al-Madina. He comes running, يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اتَّبِعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. He comes just to convey one message: "O people, obey the messengers. Accept what they're saying. اتَّبِعُوا مَنْ لَا يَسْأَلُكُمْ أَجْرًا وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ." And he gives a reasoning of why they should follow these people. He says, follow those people who don't want anything from you. They're not asking you for money. They're not asking you for any gains. They're not benefiting out of this. If anything, it's them putting themselves in a difficult situation, in a dangerous situation. Isn't that enough of a sign to you that this, like what they're saying? Why would they lie? Why would they make this up? What benefit are they getting? And then he says for himself, he said, وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Then why should I not worship the one who has created me, and I'm going to be returned to him? أَأَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً إِن يُرِدْنَا الرَّحْمَنُ بِضُرٍّ لَا تُغْنِ عَنِّي شَفَاعَتُهُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُنْقِذُونَ. Do you guys want me to do what you're doing and worship other idols besides Allah, who, if Allah wants any harm for me, they can't do a single thing to help me? And you want me to follow them? They can't save me? لا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. If I did that, I would be gone. I would be completely lost. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. I expressed my belief in my Lord, so you should also listen. Now this person, the story is almost done. This person was not a prophet. It's not a prophet, right? Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the first peoples, he used the word mursalun. Here he said rajulun, a man came running. Rajulun yasa'. And Mufassirin write that this person, the people did not know before that he had accepted Islam, that he had accepted the messengers um, preaching their message. But they write that when the messengers entered the city, they entered from the far gate of the city, and this is where this person resided. And this person was a someone who was afflicted by leprosy, the disease of leprosy. And when these messengers first came in, that's the first person they saw, and they invited him to accept, to believe in Allah. And he was someone who was a very staunch idol worshipper for some Mufassirin right for 70 years. And when they invited him, he said, can you help me against my condition? You're inviting me towards this Allah. Can you do anything for me? And they said, yes, absolutely. And he said, how? He said, I have been calling upon my idols for 70 years. And they haven't been able to do anything. Why would your God be able to do anything different? They said, it's up to you. We can't do anything for you ourselves. We will make dua to Allah for you, and He will cure you. He accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened his heart. They made dua for him, and he was completely cured. So he was fully convinced at this point. That's why when he heard that these messengers were in town and the people were giving them a hard time, he came running to support them, to help them. That no, you might be confused, you might not think it's the truth, but I know, trust me, you need to accept. I have already accepted. The next verse is very interesting. When he says, after he says, Inni amantu bi rabbikum fasma'un, I have believed. The next verse says, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. It was said to him, enter Jannah. Now they're here in a heated debate, in a heated argument going on, and Allah says the next thing that happened was he was told to enter Jannah. So Mufassirin have written that when he made these claims that your idols can't help me against if Allah wants anything, any harm from you, idols can't do anything, I have believed in Allah, these people jumped on him and they killed him. So the next thing that happened for him was that he was in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he was told, go and enter into Jannah. And at that point he made a dua, he said, Ya layta qawmi ya'lamun. If only my people knew, bima ghafara li rabbi wa ja'alani min al-mukrabin. How Allah has forgiven me after I lived a full life of idolatry, and has made me min al-mukramin, has honored me. As for those people of the village, they did not believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَى قَوْمِهِ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ مِنْ جُنْدٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَمَا كُنَّا مُنزِلِينَ إِنْ كَانَتْ إِلَّا صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ خَامِدُونَ. That we did not have to send a very big army to destroy them, nor some huge punishment from the sky. We just sent one shriek, a really loud yelling sound, and they were all destroyed. فَإِذَا هُمْ خَامِدُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya hasratan ala al-ibad. How sad is it, the state of people. مَا يَأْتِيهِمْ مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. No messenger comes to them except that they mock them and reject them. This story, it seems like a rather straightforward, simple story. And there's a couple of messages that I want to point out from here. This person who was not a prophet, because of the effort that he made to go and help these people, help these prophets, to try to convince others to accept their message, Allah put his mention in the Quran. Okay, and there are very few people through the history of mankind whose mention is in the Quran specifically. Okay, even if it's not by name, but it's referring to a specific person. This person put the benefit of others before his own benefit. He saw that these prophets were in a situation where people might harm them. And more than that, he was worried about the rest of the townsfolk. He wanted them to accept, to believe. Just because of this worry that he had for these others, and he took a big step, which ended up in him losing his life. And he knew that. He knew how staunch the people of that time were on their shirk. And anyone who spoke up against that was killed. Yet he put himself in that position to try and help others. We, on a daily basis, interact with people, with Muslims, with non-Muslims, and we at some capacity have an ability to help them. Whether it's about telling non-Muslims about Islam, and even just a general sense, something that will help them. Even if you're not telling them about Islam, there are countless practices and acts and teachings in Islam that they can benefit from. Tell them something beneficial for them. That will only bring them closer to Islam. Dealing with Muslims, remind them. Every chance you get, remind them. And sometimes it's just about a very clear, simple message. Right? That, no, look, what you're actually supposed to be doing right now is very straightforward. This is it, just do it. It's simple. This is what this person did. He didn't come and give a very long speech and start pulling out the line and oh, this hadith says this and this verse says this. You're like this. You're like that. He came simple. That just believe in him. Just believe in them. It's for your own good. Another point. This example, as I mentioned in the beginning, refers to the village and the messengers without specifying the names. Okay, and this is a very beautiful point about the Quran that we see again and again, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions incidents and occurrences and things that have happened in the past without mentioning details. Okay, and those same stories and occurrences, if you look in other books, in Torah and Injil and so on, they're mentioned there too with a lot of detail. Like the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Here in the Quran, there's an entire surah to it. But in the other books, there's tons of more detail of what happened in certain different circumstances, who people were, their names, what happened after the story. Same thing with Ashab al-Kahf. The story is mentioned in other books, and there's a lot more detail. The issue with us is we start to get interested in the details. Okay, what was the name of the dog of Ashab al-Kahf? People start discussing that. Or how many were there? Were there 6? Were there 7? Were there 8? In Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to highlight this point, that Allah has not given details, Allah spends a whole set of verses about people who get into these discussions. Some said there were 3, some said there were 5, some said there were 7. At the end, Allah says, Allah knows how many there were. Why does it matter to you? Will your life change, or will the lessons you gain from the story of Ashab al-Kahf change if they were 7 and not 8? Or if they were 4 and not 5? Does the lesson of this story change if it was one village or another? If it was one messenger or another? It's all the same. And this just reinforces the point that Allah has not given us the stories and occurrences in the Quran as stories. He has given us the parts that we need from those stories to benefit from. That's it. And if you look at every historical occurrence or story that has been mentioned in the Quran, you will see this, you will observe this, that is mentioned in a general sense of what happened without delving into the details. And every time you see that, it should remind us that that the Quran is a book of lessons for us, of teachings for us, a guide for us. Allah has given countless, in this series we're looking at examples, right, every weekend, but that's just one method that Allah has used to convey messages. There are countless others. But at the end of the day, no matter what the method is, the goal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is achieving through this is the same. To convey the messages, to allow us to focus on the points that are important, that are relevant to us, and to learn from those and to implement those in our life. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability, especially with whatever is left in the month of Ramadan, to continue to benefit from the Quran, to learn from the Quran in a way that we are able to implement those lessons and teachings into our lives. Look, I say this, I've said this countless times over the past month, that recitation is important, but it is not enough. Recitation of the Quran is important, but it is not enough. Allah did not give us the Quran just for recitation. Yes, there's immense reward with it, and do it as much as you can. But understanding the message of the Quran, what Allah says to us, is crucial. Look, if you were to leave everything else aside, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu 90 times. 90. Where you're speaking directly to us. He's not mentioning a story and then we can indirectly read it and get a message from it. He's not talking about some other occurrence that happened that we can observe and say, okay, yeah, that happened. He's not saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina kafaru, or you who disbelieve, or Ya ahlul kitab, or Ya this, or Ya that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu 90 times. Do we know what Allah is saying in any of those times? Allah clearly addresses us. And every one of those 90 times has a message, has something for us. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to make the effort that's needed for this, to put in the time and the effort, and make the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us those who truly benefit from the Quran. And it is these people for whom the Quran will become a means of intercession, a hujjah, an evidence on the day of judgment, when we can recite the Quran, understand the Quran, and implement it into our lives. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.